As a Canadian citizen, do you authorize the Canada Revenue Agency to give your name, address, date of birth, and citizenship to Elections Canada to update the National Register of Electors? Like many Canadians across the country last year, I filed my taxes. When this question was posed to me, I made sure to tick yes. Before I continue, I must first provide some context about myself. I am what you could call a political junkie. I like to know what is happening in our world. Staying up late and watching elections is one activity that I enjoy. It could be federal, provincial, to some extent municipal, and worldwide. If there are ballots involved and I hear about it, chances are I'll be watching. I recently learned that it is actually illegal in some countries to refuse to participate in an election. As of 2013, there were 22 countries, 11 of these are democracies, that provide for compulsory voting. The Commonwealth of Australia is one of the countries where you can be fined for not casting a ballot in an election. In New South Wales, at the state level, individuals are fined $55. But watching election coverage and actually having a say in the process are two different things. For example, I can watch MPs vote on Theresa May's Brexit plan via YouTube, live-streamed from the UK House of Commons, but I don't get to cast a ballot. I'm sitting, watching on my iPad, helpless to the outcomes. It's not like Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the opposition, phones me up each time they vote and asks, "Hey Alistair, where do you stand on this particular issue?" I have also watched elections in other provinces such as Alberta, British Columbia, and Ontario, but it's the same story. As I don't reside within those jurisdictions, I rightfully don't get a vote. And in the case of both Alberta and BC, I would have been too young to cast a vote when their elections were held, even if I did reside there. In previous elections, because I was under 18, the law says I didn't get a say on who would represent me in either our legislature or parliament. I've participated in mock school elections before, but it's not the same as the real deal. So, imagine my surprise when I recently walked down to the post office to find a brown envelope with my name on it. But this wasn't just any brown envelope. It was from Elections Canada. I was very excited, although the postmistress told me that many other people had gotten similar envelopes. I felt like the Elections Canada registration team was personally contacting me. The bilingual letter on official letterhead read, "Dear Alistair, you are not currently registered to vote in federal elections." I was slightly confused, thinking that the box I had ticked months prior had signed me up. But I followed the directions and visited the elections.ca/youth webpage. Once there, I followed the prompts with my learner's permit in hand. Signing up was, for the most part, a breeze, but the real challenge goes much deeper. Although in October I'll get my chance to mark a ballot with an X for my candidate, I, like many others, don't truthfully have a say on who we want at the top. We can vote for our individual member of parliament, yet we don't have a say on who our prime minister will be. In 2015, the last federal election, Canadians had the ability to get the election results in many cases before polls closed in their area, due to the blackout legislation being lifted, as this didn't work in an age of technology. As I didn't have access to internet or TV in the hamlet I was residing in at the time, I was listening on an old AM radio to the CBC. Before our polls had closed and the ballot boxes were even unsealed, the broadcaster felt confident enough to make a prediction that Justin Trudeau would be Canada's next Prime Minister. We now know that that outcome was correct. Yet if one were to review the final election map for 2015, they would see that apart from a small part of British Columbia, the vote in much of the country is either blue for the Conservatives or orange for the NDP. I am of the belief that it isn't right that densely populated provinces like Ontario get the majority of the say on who represents the whole of this great land we call Canada. The prairie provinces matter too. First past the post doesn't work as well as people think it does. My suggestion for Elections Canada is that we implement the New Zealand model and use the Mixed Member Proportional MMP system of government. The New Zealand Electoral Commission explains in a video posted to their YouTube channel that, as its name says, MMP is a proportional system. This means there is likely to be a range of big and small parties in Parliament. Under the MMP voting system, governments are usually made up of more than one party, in coalition or with support agreements. But how is that possible? In New Zealand, voters actually get 2 votes. You don't have to decide between whether you're going to vote for a particular candidate or if you're going to vote for a party. In MMP, you have the best of both worlds. In a hypothetical election, let's say I agree with Jane Doe, who is running as an independent. Under MMP, I could cast my vote for her to represent my area. The candidate who gets the most votes wins. I would feel that I did not throw away my vote for Prime Minister, as I could still vote for Bill Smith of the larger Mayonnaise Party to represent the country as a whole. Under the current system, I would be torn and have to decide. I like Jane and her platform, but she has no chance of representing us all, as she's only running as an MP. Do I still vote for her, or do I vote for the larger Mayonnaise Party? Of course, you don't have to vote for 2 different parties. If you wanted the Mayonnaise candidate in your area and as your federal party, then you can go right ahead and select it on your ballot. While MMP may seem confusing at first because of the fact that there are more options, it actually paints a better picture of what the country wants. A man by the name of Dave Meslin appeared on the CBC and explained that in the last election, Atlantic Canada had all 32 seats populated by Liberals. He calculated that using a proportional system, that the tally would have looked slightly different. 6 seats for the NDP, 1 Green Party seat, and 6 Conservative seats. On the national scale, he explained that 500,000 Canadians voted for the Green Party, yet under the current system, they only got a single seat. With a proportional system, they would have gained 10 seats overall. I hope that someday Canada's electoral system is reformed, but until then, I will do my part and still cast my vote despite the system's imperfections. I may even find other ways to be active politically, such as applying to work at the polls on election day. I quite enjoyed being an information officer at the Battleford's Lloydminster by-election back in December 2017. Waiting until October is a while, but on March 23rd, at 1 a.m. Saskatchewan time, the polls close for the New South Wales state elections. If I have my way, I'll be up late staring at a screen, eating the traditional Australian election day fare, a democracy sausage. Apparently, an election ritual in Australia is to fire up the grill, throw on some sausages, and go vote. It sounds like a delicious idea that should be implemented in Canada. Sausages or not, don't forget to vote on October 21st, 2019, or at an earlier time at an advanced poll.